with a lot of input from the Hamilton County school system, from teachers, business leaders, and others who spoke to the topics that they were most comfortable with. We broke the work down in the beginning into 4 groups. Pre-K, experts everywhere will tell you, anywhere in the world will tell you, that by the age of 3, certain things should be accomplished, and that is the most important time of learning in a child's life. And so there was a pre-K initiative. And then K through 12, which is kindergarten through high school. We talked about curriculum and even hours of the day and teachers and grading and every possible component that anybody wanted to bring up. Are our kids getting up too early? And how much homework do they have? Whatever anyone wanted to bring up. The third group was, or the next piece was, the post-graduation. This is okay, now I have a degree, I have a high school degree, and anything else, a certificate, even a 2-year degree, even a 4-year degree. I've come this far now, how do I put that to work in what you define as the way you either had hoped for or still hope for? And then, because of our community and because of the people that are here, we learned early on that including the faith-based community was going to be critically important to each part of this. And you get into so much of the family structure and the socioeconomic levels, from the most beautiful marble churches in our city down to churches that use a facility that happens to be empty on a Sunday morning. And that input, and that response, by the way, was astonishing, but that input was very important. And so as we had these groups, we felt that, as a whole group, we felt that there was a home for most topics that would come up in this deliberation, thought process, information gathering process, for most of that content. Not one of the meetings was closed to anybody. We established a website, Chattanooga, Chat2.org, and we posted all the meetings there, and we had some very interesting visitors from time to time. The chamber coordinated the work of this post-secondary out into the workforce, and so I would see the people that came and participated in those meetings. We met every other week for almost 4 months. And so it wasn't like, if you can't commit to this, we had the core group that never missed a meeting. But you would have others that came in because they'd been following it, and they might have taken, we met, I think, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and so they might have taken that last hour of the day off, but they wanted to be here and be a part of it. And so those kinds of deliberations took place for 3 to 4 months. And we brought in outside experts. We conference called on the phones with outside experts. Each of these groups had at a minimum representatives from the education providers, Hamilton County Schools, the Chattanooga Community, Chattanooga State Community, UTC. We had participants from private school suppliers, not the private schools, but academies that are for a purpose. So we had those. We had representatives from work, from businesses, small companies to the very largest of our companies, and we had a number of times that there was strong representation from elected officials in our meetings, and it was really very dynamic as to how we exchanged ideas and thoughts. And there'd be those who say, "Wait a minute, what did you just say?" And what does that word mean? When you say we have to, what does that word mean? And so we had a lot of conversation about all parts of this. Everybody wanted to know, where does this end? And so the 100 days was a way of saying, well, let's not spend any more time on it than we can afford with what we've asked everybody to do, to be here and to participate with this frequency, knowing that everybody has other things to do, but also to allow ourselves enough time to thoroughly explore each of these topics and questions that came up, so that at the end of that we felt we had a well-balanced roadmap of where we wanted to go, what were the big ones that came out of all of this work. And so right now, with the conclusion of that in the first half of June, what we're doing now is we're distilling that down and saying, okay, now this came out of this one, this came out of that one. How do they fit together? And who is going to be the ones that will deliver the expected outcomes or the anticipated or hoped for outcomes from these initiatives? And so I've already confessed that I'm not an educator, but the pre-K group will have tasks and due dates and deliverables as to how that's going to be. I know one of them is that if we're going to improve pre-K schooling, somewhere in our communities, we need to make sure that we have a seat, so to speak, for all the pre-K students. And if you have 1,000 pre-K students and you have 100 seats, let's decide where we want to start. You know, you've got to bring them in. And so they all go on along those sorts of lines. And as I say, right now, we know that the school system is actually working hard all summer, every summer. They've had transitional things to do. They have already made plans that when students come back to school here in another week or so, that there will be things that are different about that day. The way that things are done, or the way that people are pulling together, or the way a day is going to be spent. There are things that have already changed there. I know in conversations with the institutions of higher education that they are already looking at curriculum, already looking at big needs, already looking at how they change the way that they have operated for many, many years, so that they can align much more nimbly and relevantly in content to those jobs that we see coming here. And so, as I said, what's incredibly gratifying is to see so much that has already taken root, knowing that the best is even yet to come. So that's where we are right now at this point.